What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then it's just welcome to my channel, and now welcome back. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because you will not be disappointed, unless of course your taste level is lacking. If that's the case, baby, if you can get help at charter, please get help somewhere. Y'all, men are so delusional. Why? I don't know, but shout out to my ex, because he said that he saw that I locked my hair and he feels like I did that to lure him back in, because I know he likes women with natural hair. They really be crazy for real. Like, I don't know what's wrong. Let me find out a man is just like a mutated version of a woman. Did I just crack the code? Oh my goodness. No, I'm just kidding. Y'all, today we have a lot to get into, so I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm just going to get right into what we have to talk about. And that is the case of Khalil Wheeler Weaver. Now, there isn't a whole lot of information online about his childhood that I could find, but what we do know is that he was born on April 20th, 1996. He is a Taurus. Not as already adding up. All we know is that he committed a violent crime. Now, he grows up in a nice home in Orange, New Jersey, and he comes from a family of law enforcement. His stepfather is a detective in the neighboring town of East Orange, and an uncle of his actually retires from the Newark Police Department. In 2014, when Khalil graduates high school, he gets his own badge when he starts working security at a grocery store. And he has plans of also becoming an officer someday, which is very interesting. Those that know him personally describe him as a very calm and helpful person. A lot of people see him as nerdy. He was a khaki pants and tucked in shirt kind of guy, a little belt and some loafers, maybe some tennis shoes if he's feeling sporty. And no one has a clue about the compulsive and dark thoughts that plague him. To everyone, Khalil comes off as harmless. So when women in the area begin to go missing, he is the very last person that one would suspect would be behind it, even when he is the last person that is seen with them before they go missing. 19-year-old Robin West struggles with mental health issues, according to her mother, and on August 31st of 2016, she is reported missing. The day after she is reported missing, dispatch receives several 911 calls about an abandoned house being on fire. At the scene, charred remains are found inside of the home, and the body is so badly burned that it cannot be readily identified. It takes 2 weeks and the use of dental records to confirm that these remains are, in fact, those of 19-year-old Robin. Unfortunately, her loved ones have remained hopeful that this wasn't her and that she would return home safely, only to find out the horrible truth, or at least some of it, because due to the state of her remains, the cause of death could not be determined. Many of their questions were left unanswered surrounding Robin's disappearance and what had happened to her. And of course, even without knowing exactly what happened, it's very obvious to them that this was done to her and that somebody out there knows something. And less than 2 months later, a second woman goes missing in the same area. Now, 33-year-old Joanne Brown is currently experiencing homelessness. She's also been battling some mental health issues as well. She was last seen getting into Khalil's car on October 22nd and is reported missing just a couple days later. Khalil here has struck again and lured his second victim using a very popular at the time social media app called Tagged under usernames like Lil Yacht Rock and Pimp Killer Ghost. He searches for women that he deems less valuable and chooses women who are doing sex work because he figures that these women would not be missed. And on November 15th, 34-year-old Tiffany Taylor approaches authorities regarding an encounter that she had with a man that she says almost left her dead. Now, according to her, she is several months pregnant and she had met a guy named Khalil who she'd made a deal with to have a little paid adult exchange. She had agreed to pick him up and he gets in her car wearing a ski mask and gloves. She drives off at it somewhere that the two of them could, do the do. And shortly after pulling off, he tells her that he needs to use the restroom. She pulls the car over, and the next thing she knows, she's waking up in the back of the car and he is essaying her. And then he begins to choke her until she passes out again. After waking up a second time, he continues to assault her repeatedly. He has her handcuffed and he has duct tape over her mouth. And she manages to get the tape off and slide one of her wrists out of the handcuffs, but she doesn't let him see that she's loose. And she is not confident in her ability to physically overpower him. So she knows at this point she has to mentally overpower him, like outsmart him to get out of this. She tells Khalil that he should probably take her back to the hotel room to get her phone, because if something happens to her and they get her phone and see that he was the last person she was messaging, it would be very obvious that he was the person behind her disappearance. And it actually works because he then agrees to take her back to the hotel to get her phone. And I don't know if Khalil's elevator didn't go to the top floor. What made him think that this woman was really gonna just run into her room and get her phone and come on back out? But apparently that's what he thought she was gonna do, because he had agreed to wait for her right outside the room. And of course she runs in and locks the door. And then he starts to feel like, okay, Miss Girl, you taking too long, but she is not coming out, Khalil. She's not coming out. She's actually inside the room dialing 911. Impatiently, he bangs on the door. When he realizes that she is likely not coming out, he runs off. By the time police get there, he is nowhere to be found. Tiffany is convinced that the person that she had encountered is in fact the same guy, but police don't act on this lead at all. They just basically hear her out and that's it. And unfortunately, Khalil here continues to hunt for victims on the web. Something changes when he sees the profile of 20-year-old Sarah Butler, a second-year student at New Jersey City University. She differs from his usual targets. She does not have any documented mental struggles. She's, of course, a student. She's also very close to her family, and this is actually the most crucial difference. She is home for Thanksgiving break when she meets Khalil on Tag. The two of them exchange several messages and actually agree to go out on a date, but then Sarah either needs to cancel or she wants to cancel. She calls the date off. Then Khalil propositions her and offers her $500 to sleep with him. She actually agrees to this, and less than an hour before meeting up with him, jokingly texts him, "You're not a serial killer, right?" She tells her mother that she's going to meet a friend and she borrows her car, which is nothing out of the ordinary. But as it gets later and later and Sarah is not responding to anyone's calls or texts, her mother realizes that something may actually be wrong. Sarah is reported missing, and just over a week later her remains are found at a huge 400-acre park called Eagle Rock Reservation over in West Orange. And just 4 days after she's discovered, Joanne Brown's remains are discovered inside of an abandoned house. Tape covers her nose and her mouth, and a medical examiner later determines that she had been strangled. Sarah Butler's family and friends are determined to get answers and justice, and police are not moving fast enough. So they decide to take matters into their own hands. Her sister knows her password, so she logs into Sarah's tagged account and looks through her latest messages. And there she discovers the messages between Sarah and Khalil the day that she had gone missing. And of course, in these messages, the two of them are arranging to meet up. So the sister creates a fake tag profile and messages Khalil. And then at this point, she goes to the police with what she's discovered and asks them what should be her next steps. And they actually agree to work with her to set up sort of a sting operation. She messages him as if she is interested in him, and of course he bites the bait. The two of them arrange a date to meet up at a local Panera Bread. When he arrives, he is instead met by undercover police officers, and he is immediately detained. Once they arrest him, they go and search his home, and inside of his bedroom, they find 3 cell phones with very incriminating search history. Things like homemade poisons to kill humans, and what can you put on a rag and hold over someone's mouth to make them go to sleep immediately? Like, sir, you typed all of that in for real? Come on now. He had also been searching up the police entrance exam practice test Police pull up the location history on these cell phones and they are able to put him at the abandoned house that was set on fire, and also reveal that he'd initially driven away from the scene but then went back to sit and watch the house burn for a while. And Joanne's phone records revealed that the last person that she had taken a call from was none other than Khalil. He admits to picking her up and taking her there to the abandoned building and spending time with her, but says that he left her there completely unharmed. In February of 2017, he is formally indicted on 3 counts of murder, 1 count of an attempt, 1 count of arson, aggravated arson at that, desecration of human remains, aggravated essay, and kidnapping. Now, there is very little physical evidence tying him to any of these crimes. He tried his best to keep his DNA to himself. He wore gloves and protection during each encounter, but a very small amount of his DNA is able to be extracted from underneath one of the victim's fingernails. And despite that, he decides to enter a plea of not guilty, claiming that he is innocent of everything. In December of 2019, the verdict finally comes in guilty of all charges brought against him. Now, due to the state of the world during 2019, he is not sentenced until October 6th of 2021. Still claiming that he was framed, he is sentenced to 160 years in prison. Miss Taylor, the survivor, she got a chance to speak, and it was pretty sad because she said that she no longer wears makeup. Her whole life is different. She doesn't have friends. She's always paranoid, but she's still happy to be here. But it's like her existence going forward has been tarnished by this man's actions. Now, on April 9th of 2019, just 2 years into him being in that little cell, their holding cell, waiting for his trial, the decomposed remains of a strangled girl had been found inside of an abandoned apartment building. It takes several months, but she is finally able to be positively identified as a 15-year-old, I believe her name is pronounced Mawa Dumbia, and she was last seen by her father and sister on the evening of October 6th of 2016. And this was right in the midst of Khalil's spree. And because the timeline matches up and so does the details of the crime scene, police are sure that this is Khalil's work. They are able to log into her tagged profile, and lo and behold, her final messages were sent to a profile that belonged to Khalil. At 10:40 a.m. on the day that she had gone missing, he had messaged her and propositioned her, offering $70 for an adult exchange. And their final communication on tagged was at 12:23 p.m. when they agreed to meet up. After sending the young lady his number, Khalil searches her apartment complex on Google. Then he uses maps to map out the directions to her apartment and then to the location of the abandoned building where her remains were found, which was just a short distance. And of course, his location history on this day matches up with his Google searches. He goes to her apartment and then proceeds to that other location. And just as Khalil had done with his other victims, he denies any responsibility and maintains that all of this is a setup and that he is being framed by the prosecutors. Now, at this time, he is 25 years old, and his statement is, "I do feel sympathy for the victims. My heart goes out to the families. However, I was not the person who committed these crimes." Now, that's what he says, but the one woman who managed to escape him is 100% sure that this is the man who had attacked her. In March of 2022, he is indicted on charges for this 4th victim. And this case remains to be open, but he is, of course, in the meantime, very much incarcerated. He will continue to be for the rest of his life. Regardless of how this turns out, he is in there, so good for that. And as of last year, prosecutors were still investigating other potential victims of his. So we don't know exactly how many victims he truly has, which is terrible. But at least he is off the streets. And if there's an update, I will surely provide it. Okay, as of now, that is pretty much it for this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like the video before you leave. Subscribe if you have not, if you don't want to miss out. As always, I appreciate you so much for spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace. What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then it's just welcome to my channel, and now welcome back. Take two. Khalil Weaver. I knew I was gonna mess it up. In 2014, when Khalil And then, come on now, please. Who's competing with me in the background? So the sister creates a faked tag, incriminating search history. I just messed up my eye makeup. Well, okay. It's so. In March of 2022, he is indicted.